Facebook's giving us a few problems here and there, but I think the angels are with us. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so we're just gonna have a conversation. You know, we're live on Facebook now. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Okay, you got to give me 1 second. Okay, so keep everybody entertained. I can't do this without my coffee. I can't do it.
Oh, okay. You get your coffee. I'm having my water.
Okay.
Cheers. Well, this is the first time I've ever been on a public forum or platform, I would say. So I'm feeling rather excited about it. Let's see what happens.
Where are you at, Ruby? What part of the world?
I'm in Cape Town, South Africa.
Oh, you're in South Africa? I did not know that. I didn't know that. Wow. We got a pretty good little community at Soulogy in South Africa. I was looking at one of the pages or something this morning. Don't ask me which one it was, but South Africa was, I want to say it was well, North America or US, Canada, England, Australia. I think South Africa was about 6th or 7th in representation.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of beautiful people over there.
Yeah.
Really have. We've gotten a lot of support from over there. Really have. Judith Cassell's over there, Judith Kuzel.
Yes.
John Warren. Who?
And Rita Melchizedek.
Yeah, and Rita. Who else is there? Chris Rowland's over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Rowland's over there. There's a lot of people over there. It really is. All right, we're gonna roll the show out in a couple of minutes. I'm gonna pull it up on the phone so I can see the comments. All right. Let me see here. Okay, we are live. We got 21 people in the house. Hello, everybody. We're gonna roll this out in just a second. We're just gonna share it to some of the affiliate groups, say some quick hellos, and then we're gonna get to know our beautiful, beloved sister, visionary artist, just a great example, representation of the Mother Goddess energy, Rubi Lara. Okay, let's see. I mispronounce everybody's name, so if I say it 3 different ways, don't get upset with me. Yeah. Okay, so let me share it to a few groups and say and give a shout out to some of these groups that have been doing a lot of work in the community over the years. Let me see if I can recall everybody. We got Soulogy, which is administrated by Rebecca Williams from UK. She does it all by herself, and I don't know how she does it because over the years we've had like 5 people doing it. She's done it all by herself. She's just a beautiful, amazing lady. Ignite Your Light, Your Divine Self, Spiritual Healers, Rising Above, Lisi and Damon, 13th Dimension of Consciousness, Sylvia George, Circle of Life, Anna Maria Garcia, The Sun Will Rise in the West, that's Marcel Boyd, down in New Zealand, 1111 Movement, Jessica Woods, 5D High Vibe Tribe, that's Sean Christopher, Twin Flame Healing Network, Grand Crew United, Galactic Federation of Light, Infused Light. The event is happening, Jim McCarty over in the UK and that bunch, New Earth Ascending Soul, Earth Healing, Return of the Souls, Yvette Da Vinci, Some of One, that's Raquel Toons. And I'm not getting older, my memory's getting better, I think. But I just want to say thank you to everybody for everything they're doing out in the community to keep this expansion growing, growing and growing and growing. Quick hello, Paula Bartolomeu out of Portugal. Boy Noche, Patricia Satchwell, Elizabeth Rudwick, She said she just spent 5 days with Enrita Melchizedek in Glastonbury at Enrita's event. Mary Cooper, Lauren Dogan, Edith Ann, Mary Lou, Erin Lee, Julie Devereaux, my homegirl from Salt Lake City, Utah, the Divine Goddess Morgan Lee, Elaine Leonard, Eve Alta, Amanda Lowe's, Shaz Hargreaves. Here we go. Stephen Michael Jones, Jared Kirk. Welcome, Jared. I've not seen your name before. Edna Timbley McGo, Serpa Tuaminen, Monica D. Benware. Keep your eyes open for Waves of Light Conscious Conference, January 17th through 19th. We've been asked, Morgan and I have been asked to speak there and conduct a workshop on sacred union, sacred sex, and shadow work. So we're looking forward to that. We really appreciate the opportunity. Monica D. Benware is one of the organizers of that. Sherry Matson, Laura Wright, Sue Baxter Fitz. And Sue has been a big supporter. Thank you for your love, support, contributions, and everybody else. That's how we keep going by the seat of our pants every day. And I want to say something to Sue, too. I know on some of these shows we've had where we've discussed sacred union, sacred sexuality, she's made comments about her relationship with her beloved, physical to non-physical integration. And I would love to have you on if you'd like to come in and talk about it sometime. Hello, Maria Spanner. Thank you for always sharing our work. Kelly Bird, Ali, and my homegirl from Stavanger, Norway, and Thea Kella Lashby. Some new faces there. They may be Ruby's friends. My name's Todd Medina. The Soul Speaks 5D from the Soulogy.One network. Our job is to provide a platform for the 99.99%. That part of us that's been suppressed for so many years, eons, the voice of the Mother Goddess. And we have a beautiful, divine, feminine Mother Goddess representation frequency here with us today, Rubi Lara from South Africa. And it's a real pleasure because she's been a big supporter for Soulogy and one of those people that's kept me going when things got a little rough just by her love and support, comments, and messages. So thank you, Ruby, for all of that. Thank you for all that you do. Welcome to Soul Speaks 5D. It's an honor to have you here and share space with you.
Thank you, Todd. I like your style. First comes exposure and then comes disclosure.
That's actually very true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exposure, then disclosure. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, you know, and I've had a couple of people make comments to me about how I introduced the show, but this is a vortex. This is a mirror of the universe, as I've received it. Morgan and I have received it. Soulogy is a mirror of the universe. Its own little corner. I'm not saying it's anything more or less than anything else, but we continue to add frequencies to an ever-expanding vibration. It's called growth. It's called expansion. And everybody's included on the soul highway at Soulogy, even if you don't want to be. But I like that, exposure and disclosure. I was looking at some old videos today to put something up to post on the memories that come up. And it was an old kind of a street preacher rant that I did. And that was exposure followed by disclosure. So I think that's funny what you said. But tell us about yourself. I mean, you've been around a long time. Everybody knows you.
Yeah, I've been around since the wheel was
Yeah.
I've kept on rolling.
You were neighbors with Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble, weren't you? No, just kidding. So back when the cars had, like, you know, stones for wheels, no,
Yeah.
and use your feet to pedal. No, I'm just. So yeah, you know, I love to ask that question, and I haven't been asking it so much in, you know, probably the last 200 or 300 shows, but I really would like to know what your story is. Did you have a wake up experience? You've got so much energy that you exude and the stuff that you put out. Did something happen to you, or did you just wake up and see the colors that you see and have the vision that you have and all that?
Which version do you want?
Both of them. We're multidimensional. We're all about.
Oh, it's many, many, many. No, I've had a very kind of a life of sometimes very rude awakenings, and sometimes very gentle awakenings. And I was just thinking about it today, and I think it all started with my birth, because it was just kind of just after the Second World War. And in those days, women were given morphine to assist in their labor pains. So I don't think that could have helped very much. You know, the children coming in, I mean, you know, under the influence of our dear Morpheus. Yeah, so from the moment of my birth, it was like, what the hell am I doing here? And who am I? And, you know, and the search began almost immediately. So, you know, as a small child, I preferred to stay in other worlds instead of, you know, being in this harsh world. And yeah, and as a small child, I think I excarnated a lot. You know, certain things just rattled me to my bones, and I took one look at certain things going on, and I thought, I'm out of here. And I would literally float out of my body and just go up and up and up and up, and
Wow.
have a lovely time, and come back, you know, with a bang, with a boom and a bump. So
And
yeah,
and when did this start in earnest? Did this start like at 5 years old, 6 years old? Were you that young when it started?
I think I was slightly younger than that. And I mean, one of my first remembered experiences was where I had a balloon, one of those helium balloons, and the balloon slipped out of my hand, and I watched this balloon going up and up and up and up and up into the sky, and I went with it, and I found it very difficult to bring myself back. So, which was quite exhilarating, but very scary.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean,
And so when you were, let's say we're talking, you know, 10 years old or less. So did you at that time, did you see into the veil? Did you see non-physical, like elementals, fairies, dragons, or galactics, or angels? Were you seeing stuff like that?
yes, I had a lot of unseen friends in those realms, although there was definitely a veil there. I could not penetrate that veil, but I could see, you know, and feel what was actually the life that was being presented there.
Wow.
So the difficulty was that there were two different worlds, and I belonged in neither. So caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, as it were.
Wow.
And yeah, so I think, you know, over time there was a lot of soul fragmentation that actually happened, and it was not easy with my family, with my parental.
I was going to say, did you have any support from anybody, or at what point in your life did you start to get at least support from someone?
Well, I have to rack my brains for that one. Well, you know, I think when I was reached my teenage years, I was about 18, and I was just searching for a form of spirituality. And at that time, there was very little available. And so the first book that I actually read was the autobiography of a yogi, and made a firm connection with Yogananda.
Yeah.
And from there, very gradually, I kind of spread my wings.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a book that many people, many people picked up, that's on this path. And I'm talking back in the 70s, 80s, but I used to see that. And even before that, I used to see that on a lot of people's bookshelves. So now, did you ever, like a lot of people have come on the show and they've said, I woke up, maybe not to the extent that you experienced, but I woke up, I had some skills and abilities, some vision, and then I went to sleep. I went into 3D, I got married, I got a job, I got a house, and became the hamster on the wheel, and I disassociated from my skills and abilities, my visions, and all that stuff. Did that happen to you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, it certainly did. And so I think in order to compensate for that, I kind of turned to be a bit on the wild side.
Oh, no wonder we get along so well. No wonder. I knew there was a kindred. I knew we had a kindred bone, a kindred spirit, kindred bone.
Definitely. And talk about living on the street. Well, I took it upon myself at some point, without anybody really knowing, and I lived on the streets for 2 weeks, just to see what that experience was like, and who these people, how these amazing people lived. And I found some incredibly beautiful souls.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's yeah.
That was just one of the bizarre things that I actually branched out into.
Yeah, that's a really, really powerful choice. And I wouldn't do it for 2 years like I did, but you're right. I learned more in the first few months I was on the street, because I was more into the street life that first 6 or 7 months. But I learned more from running into the people that were that were living on the streets, and some people call them pimps and hookers and addicts and the mentally afflicted, and but you meet some human angels. There is no question about it. You see a lot of light. You see a lot of light.
Yeah. And I mean, the many faces of humanity is so incredible. And I love people, and yeah, what can you say? Love is actually all there is. And for me, even living in South Africa in the apartheid days, color and racism was meant absolutely, well, it meant nothing to me. And yeah, I've often described myself as being a freedom fighter, and and a friend of mine said to me today, well, a lot of freedom fighters are actually called terrorists.
Yeah, well, a lot of institutional protective troops and groups are not called terrorists, and they are. I don't want to get on that subject. I always wanted to ask somebody from South Africa, and I never have. I'm just curious. I know this is kind of a trivial thing, but of course, everyone's familiar with the Mandela effect and where it got its name. You obviously were there. Do you recall at all ever seeing or hearing that he passed in the early 90s?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do you recall at all ever hearing that Mandela transition died in the early 90s as is attributed to the Mandela effect, the name of the Mandela effect? Do you ever remember it being announced that he actually died in the early 90s?
Yes, I do. Although I never really believed it. I'm very positive by nature, and it'll take a lot for me to disbelieve things. And my daughter always tells me that my bullshit radar isn't very strong at all.
Wow.
So
I was going to do a post this morning of this picture that I downloaded a while back of an angel smoking a cigarette with a bottle of whiskey next to him, and see what I could come up with creatively. That's the same spirit that I picked up from you for some reason.
yeah, no, definitely we are kindred spirits.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to ask you, do you communicate with certain essences of the universe, certain faces of the universe that are more dear to you, or you have more of an affinity for, or do you just communicate with the universe one voice?
Oh no, a myriad of voices.
Yeah.
And in the work that I do, I with my clients and students, I do a lot of work with the archetypes. So that basically what that means is personifying every aspect of oneself and one's soul, and going inwards and meeting up with these different characters, one could call it, and befriending them. And so, I mean, my universe is within.
Yes.
And at the edge of that universe, I do invite and am invited by quite a lot of other beings.
So the basis of your work, your energy work with clients, is identifying, owning, integrating each of the archetypes that make us up, right?
Right. So, for example, over the years, I've done quite a bit of work with my with the inner masculine, the inner male, and very often being on my own and being quite reclusive and not really kind of asking for help when I need it, I call upon him to help me. So if there's something heavy that I need to lift, I call him and I say, "Come on, guy, this is your job," and he works through me. That energy works through me, and I find I can actually live a balanced life in that way.
What would you say that in your own personal experience, what would you say that are the strengths, the attributes to the divine masculine energy?
Oh gosh. The gentleness, the support, the unconditional love, the vulnerability. There's so many aspects that I have encountered, and I think my exploration actually started because although I have had quite a few affairs and relationships, and was even married once, 1.5 times.
1.5 times.
Yeah.
We'll save that story for later.
Yeah. I didn't find much satisfaction in my relationships. I actually didn't attract very attractive souls towards me. And so that made me start working with my shadow, the shadow work. And that brought me deeper into finding the inner male.
Yeah.
And also, I think when one's working in that way, one has to also make a contact with one's own inner female, because she is also very different on the inside to what she is through my personality or me. And so And so the meeting between the inner male and the inner female, actually, for me, came first. And I watched that relationship grow, and I orchestrated certain elements to be in that relationship, which then played out in my, in my exterior world, as it were.
Yeah. And what would you say the attributes of the inner feminine are? The strengths.
Well, I think the nurturing is such a big part of it, and yeah, and just having a soft, gentle touch and an understanding in very broad terms of the nature of the beast, as it were.
Yeah. And the masculine, I think this is an important topic right now. I mean, I've struggled letting go of that power that I thought was the masculine. Now I know there's a deeper power, but it's required to go through a road of shedding all of that stuff, all that bullshit, right? In every aspect of my life, and it's been quite a challenge. And so my question is, you mentioned soft with the inner feminine. Is the inner masculine soft?
I think so. I think the deep inner masculine, once the ego has been let go of, I nearly said the ego shroud. It is like a shroud in a way.
Yeah.
And I think in all relationships, the ego, well, I mean, let's face it, the ego is out to kill us, actually,
Well,
at the end of the day.
The ego's out to survive at any expense to anything else, or something to that effect, right?
Exactly.
Doesn't matter who it is. Good. That's a good point. I get that. And I think the other thing is, thank you for that answer. I think the other thing is, and I know I was resistant to it. And I don't think this is a masculine or feminine thing. And that was shadow work. You mentioned shadow work. You mentioned that was the first thing you kind of jumped into as a result of these imbalanced relationships. And I think it's important because a lot of people are awakening, coming into an atmosphere where there's a lot of cliches and a lot of people telling you need to do this and you need to do that, and we all know by now it's all about self-empowerment. How important was shadow work to you in your development, and where do you rank shadow work in terms of priorities as we traverse this transition day to day?
I think shadow work is absolutely essential, and it's the first thing that one encounters in other people. From my point of view, when there's two sides to two aspects of the shadow, and the one is the dark shadow, and the other is the light shadow. And the dark shadow shows up as all the things in other people that piss you off, that you can't stand, that you don't want to be around. And the light shadow is, all the beautiful qualities that you see in other people that you think, that's not me. So an example that I give to my students is, you might find a person who's very scholarly, a lawyer or a doctor or something like that, and he's busy doing his work and everything, but all his friends are musicians.
Yeah.
And he hangs out with musicians all the time, but he can't play a note at all or even whistle. and that the reflection that he's seeing in the company he keeps is his light shadow.
Yeah.
So that part of him which he's denying
Yeah.
and probably would do very well to actually take up a flute or, do a jig and start singing or something.
So in other words, oh, I've never heard this before, but so the dark shadow is the one we resist as not being a part of us and deny, which
Exactly.
is separation. But the light shadow, because I think this is a big energy that's come up now that we've gotten deeper into the truth rising in this phenomenal year, and that is comparison, competition, comparison. And it sounds like what you're saying is the light shadow is that, like you said, that beautiful quality that we admire in others that we don't feel we have ourselves. So it's the same energy of separation and inferiority that the dark shadow causes. Would that be right?
Exactly. And I mean, the competition and the comparison with others, that's such a that's based on chauvinism in my book.
Yeah.
Because how can we compare ourselves to anyone else?
Yeah.
And if we're standing or aiming for our own sovereignty, because that comparison and that competition, leads to judgment, and you just tumble into a whole kind of black hole if you go down that road. And but when one is interacting with people, and somebody like really annoys you or something like that, and you look at them and you think, geez, that, like that guy really pisses me off. He's an absolute shit. And then I always say, just like me. Whenever I look at somebody and I have a judgment or a criticism, I always say, just like me. And that actually brings that shadow side back to me, and I can look at it and I can see those aspects in myself.
Wow. Well, that's a powerful affirmation, and that could be the next global hashtag craze.
Yeah,
hashtag just like me.
Yeah. Not me too, but just like me.
Just like me. Yeah, but mine would be, hashtag I'm an asshole, or he's an asshole just like me. Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's I like that too. I like the frequency of it, because it is that beautiful infinite simplicity, in this realm, in this conditioning. We've so overcomplicated everything from that finite mind of the ego. And it always is a simple truth, isn't it? It's always a simple, profound truth. We don't have to get into all the depths that we have. So just like me, if we haven't learned anything today, I think we can say we've learned this. That's a beautiful thing.
Well, it's very easy to say, we are one, and
yes.
there is no one else there. It's just I. But sometimes that excludes, all the kind of little hidden parts to it.
Exactly. Saying, and that is, it's an overused cliche that it's kind of like making a promise with your fingers crossed behind your back.
Yeah.
We are one except for this, or except for that. But I'm not like him, and I'm not like her, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But you've been on this road a long, long, long time compared to
long time, and many tributaries as well, and many left and right turns.
Yeah. And did you now, I know if you look at the last, and I'd have to say, I'm average. I woke up around the 2012, like so many people did. There's an evolution of, for example, you're communicating to external deities or angels or galactics or whatever spirit guides. You eventually embody them and realize it's you. And, so the information I think I've experienced has been very similar to the masses of those who are in these circles.
Right.
Part of that has been to put the books down and start getting your information from the main line to infinite intelligence. How would you describe all these years in your journey? Were you receiving, half of the information from infinite intelligence? Did you read a lot of books? Was there an evolution where you read books and then it went to no books? How much of your information was coming direct? You get what I'm saying?
I do get what you're saying. Look, I did read a lot of books, but I've got a wonderful way of reading a book, and that is I look at the cover, I open the book, I read the first page, I read the last page, and then I kind of flip through, the middle pages, and that's my reading style. So, and really, I've honest to God, I've really tried to study things seriously and remember all these facts,
Yeah.
which slipped my mind completely. So, a lot of it has, is just an intuition or a remembering of things. But I remember in 1994, I came to the States. This was a big year. It was what was the opening of the portal of the goddess in 1994, which was a very profound portal opening. Anyway, I came to San Francisco and I was attending certain workshops, and I lived in this beautiful little town called Sausalito.
Oh, yeah.
And would go every afternoon to the bookshop and sit on the floor in the bookshop and just pull out all these books and read and read and read and read and read. And one day I opened a book, and all those letters of the words, I couldn't decipher them. It looked like hieroglyphics to me, or light language, or something like really strange. And I kind of closed the book and I walked out of there, and I thought, this is total overload now. You better stop this.
Wow.
So so I think one really needs to find a balance. I still pick up books, and the thought of reading them, is like delicious. I haven't read a novel in years. I only read, spiritual books with, like information that would tickle me.
Yeah.
And but I do spend a lot of time on my own.
Yeah.
And I love my solitude. I love being in nature. And those are, I kind of have walking meditations, and moments, the information and the knowledge comes to me.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And I think that's important too, because that applied in your journey, and it applied so many people's journey back then and today. That solitude, that constant, that communion, that isolation from everything. I call it universal isolation, where you're just you and the universe. And it actually becomes, to use the metaphor of your style of reading, which I can also relate to. Yours might be a little faster than mine, but the more you do it, the quicker it is. You become a kind of a speed reader in the meditation, in the communion with the universal. The more you do, it doesn't take as long. I wanted to ask you, so with your huge, vast experience, what has been the most important or incredible divine episode that you've ever had in your life?
Well, there have been, and there still are many, and and now I would say it's difficult to put into words, but I would say the merging with and the meeting with the higher aspects in people or in nature. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and actually this was brought up on an open mic that we did yesterday. And I was telling Morgan last night, I can't remember who said it. So a little backdrop, you know, I talked about this on a couple of shows recently. So about 2 weeks ago, Morgan and I, as we do every night, clasp our palms together, lay down next to each other, and then we see what happens, right? And so we were pulled into a monad. And it wasn't the first time, but what was the first time is that 4 of those energies comprising the monad had a triad merging with us. So we merged, and she had gotten the intel prior that we would be merging with these different energies. So yesterday, I asked somebody, you know, I don't know what the question was, but they started saying that they felt like a priority was to merge with our aspects, with our, you know, to literally merge through the chakras with our multidimensional aspects and so on. So it interests me that you say that, because the way that I'm picking it up from you is that you're talking about consciously merging both with those energies that are incarnated and those that are not. Would that be correct?
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Well, because everything is energy and geometry and sound and color, you know. So there are these resonances and these frequencies which come together, which create a most beautiful dance and song.
It's all about code exchange, isn't it?
Exactly.
Data exchange, information exchange.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, I find, you know, working with crystals as well, you know, sometimes I can hold a crystal, and you know, a way of working with crystals is to rub each side, and there's been emerging on a few occasions where, as I've rubbed the side of the crystal, it's actually become kind of liquid or soft and given way under my fingers. And don't know what you make of that, but
well, some things you can't put into words.
Yeah.
You know.
No, exactly.
Morgan and I were talking last night, and as we do every night, and you know, when I first met her, I used to tell her every time I talked to her, I love you. And in a very nice way, she told me to shut up a few times. Until I understood where she was coming from, which was that we've used it so much that it's lost its meaning. So we were trying to think of, you know, what word would you use? I mean, there's really no word for that. What really is love? You know, we say it in these conditioning that we came out of, which is a codependent frequency, most relationships, you know, and so I think what you're describing is another example. I mean, there is no words for that, and anyone and everyone has received download, transmission, channeling. You know, I don't know a lot of people that it comes in a human language. It comes in, like you said, in sacred geometry, frequencies, colors, you know, wavelengths, images, but you don't hear a lot of words. You really don't. Yeah. So, let me ask you this. I'm curious. So, you know, there's a lot of talk about, you know, hypothecating, postulating, theorizing, you know, what this is all about. I'm just curious. What do you think we're doing here?
I think ultimately we're here to experience joy and to have fun, you know, and live, just, you know, live in the kindest, gentlest, most compassionate way possible.
Yeah. Does that mean we can raise it? Does that mean we can? Go ahead.
No, at the end of the day, that's all that counts, you know. It's just being there for someone, listening to them, and being of assistance when asked for. I will never. I will. Well, I think, you know, giving unasked for advice isn't really a good thing to do. I learned that a long time ago.
Asking for advice or
no,
offering?
Giving asked for advice.
Offering advice.
Yes.
Yeah. That I think that's a lot louder now when someone does it now than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. But now I think people can see the shadow that it represents.
Right.
Even in myself, I talked to one of my kids the other day, and they were in a predicament, and the first thing I did was start giving them advice. And of course, they said, "I don't want to talk to you." They hung up on me. But I realized, you know, and in some relationships and some frequencies, we've got much more pattern behavior, and it's more difficult to pull out of it, you know, and be who you are, you know, 99% of with other people that you come across. But yeah, that's a good point that you make. It really is. Now, I wanted to ask you I want to cover a couple things before we conclude in 10 or 15 minutes. One of the things that I remember specifically about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I can't remember. But I remember being pulled to a post that somebody had put up. And I don't know if you remember this, but I think it was one of the first times we actually had an exchange and talk. And they had a painting up. And I don't even remember, I know it was a good post and the commentary was good, but the painting was just absolutely extraordinary. And I remember I made a comment and I said something like, "Who the hell did that?" You know, and I might have even put it up. I don't remember. But you came in underneath and said, "I did that." I'm like, "What?" So
right.
you have an incredible mystical type of art. First of all, where can we find it? Do you have it online anywhere?
Well, as I will upload some examples. You know, I mean, over the years, I supported myself through my paintings, and I did a lot of what I call wall art, which was I specialized in still lifes, which were really, you know, very beautiful and well received and well liked. But my more mystical paintings, I never really found a niche for them here, although there were 2 friends of mine commissioned me to do 10 paintings, which I did for them. And yeah, so what was your question?
Where can we find them?
Where can we find them? Okay, I will be uploading some onto my Facebook.
If you like create an album, maybe you could tag me in it or send me the link. Because
I'll do that.
Because I know I've seen about, I think about 3 of them, and they're extraordinary. They really are. So it's that nonverbal transmission download type of thing. I'm looking at a mandala, you know, they're extraordinary. So I think people would benefit by being exposed to it. So.
Right. I mean, those paintings my mystical paintings are actually inner journeys. So you know, yeah, there's a lot in those paintings, especially if one takes the time to follow a path through the painting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Morgan has some pictures that you had sent to her. Were they your painting?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to put those up on display, but she can get them over to me here in a minute. You know, before we head out, you know, in a few minutes, is there anything that you would like to do? You know, I don't know. I know that you have a huge toolkit: blessing, light language, affirmation, commentary, advice. So this is solicited advice, though. This isn't unwanted advice. We're asking you, but anything that you'd like to cover, and I'll pull some of your work together, get it ready so we can share it with our brothers and sisters.
Well, you know, at the moment, at the beginning of May, when you first contacted me, I had a little accident, I would say, where I nearly cut my toe or one of my toes off, and the thought of actually going to a hospital or to a doctor was was a bit abhorrent for me. I didn't want to go that road, and so I nursed myself through this healing process, which was an incredibly painful and difficult time. But the thing that I'm really working with at the moment is actually healing my own body in the hope of actually being able to help other people with it. I also healed myself of skin cancer, and you know, working with structured water and many things like that. So at the moment, I'm kind of also working consciously with my DNA and seeing where that takes me. I have a complication with one of my eyes at the moment, and kind of losing a bit of sight there. And I hope the work that I'm pioneering for myself, you know, is going to prove, you know, to be beneficial and help other people realize and know that they can also, on a deep inner level, working with addressing the body and talking to the cells and dancing with the DNA, that, you know, one can yeah, do a lot for oneself.
Yeah, that's a very important subject and very much needed.
Yeah.
And I do think, because I've learned, you know, over the 4 years with Morgan, a lot of that, to include physical healing. It's all tied together, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It is. I mean, the thing is that, you know, the human physical body is, it's like a machine, you know, and it's a pretty good machine, you know. And I mean, if one cuts oneself, the body will heal itself.
Yeah.
But I think when one adds consciousness to it, one's going to be able to, you know, to have more dominion over one's physical being and physical body.
Yeah, that's right. That's where we're headed. Here's one of your pieces, which is quite extraordinary. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can. That's a
I was going to ask you on this one. Now, obviously, this is an incredible goddess, and I don't know if people can see this, but of course you can see the crystals that are, you know, are surrounding her. But at the very bottom, let me see if I get a close-up of it. There looks like there's, I'm going to ask you, is that a doorway?
That's a doorway. That's a doorway.
What's the story behind this one? This is one of your inner journeys, right?
Yeah, I mean that's entering into the earth and to work with the crystal grids of the earth, and the goddess of the crystal grids is also connecting to the crystal grid above the earth, as it were.
How long does it take you to do something like this?
I would say, I mean, on that one, I probably worked on that for about a month.
Wow. And is this like oil paint? Let me say that correctly.
It's acrylic paint. Yeah,
Acrylic paint. Okay.
Yeah. Now I haven't got patience to work with oils, and sometimes even with the acrylic paints, I'm there with a hair dryer. It's got to dry quickly because I've got to get on with the next layer.
Here's another one, and it looks to be, to me, this one is the it's a goddess again, but more rather than on the earth, in the ethers. Would that be correct with this one?
That's right. That's right. I call her the Queen of the Night.
Queen of the Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and the chakras are shown in a kind of spiraling motion around her body.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And so these come to you.
That at the top of the painting, that is the top chakra, the 12th chakra, which is way above the head.
Right here.
It's like a portal, and that's where the goddess blows her breath into us. Wow. Through that.
Wow. That's stunning.
Yeah.
This one, I'm going to show you here, though. This one is my favorite from the ones I've seen. This one. Now, let me guess on this one. Is this like an inner earth crystal city or something?
Yes, and if you look at it in a certain way, it's also a crystal skull. It's the interior of a crystal skull.
Ah, yeah. And then here, back here, there's like a castle. See that?
Yeah, that's a temple of joyous healing. So, you know, in some of my guided meditations, with my clients and students, we enter deep into the earth and then arrive at different temples. There are different temples. There's a temple of healing, there's a temple of silence, there's a temple of joy, there's a temple of the soul. And within each temple, one encounters different aspects of the goddess, different, you know, healing modalities, and yeah. And on the right of that healing temple are the sacred waters. You can see the water.
See. Yeah. Over here.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's all comes out of a very, very rich inner life.
Wow. And let me get out of there. Oh, there we go. And have you visited that inner earth, like in that painting a lot?
Oh yes, oh yes. I do a lot of my work is done there. I do a lot of global healing, and I've also over the years worked with children, the healing of children and infants and toddlers in a healing temple.
Are you directed? I know you're directed, I guess, at some level to do the things you do. Is it your higher self? Is it source? Is it the mother goddess?
I think it's all of the above. Actually, I can't really say where it comes from, but it's you know, it comes from my soul, I would say. You know, my soul prompts me to attend to matters that others are not seeing or ignoring, you know.
I just got a powerful image of you. Okay. So could you give us all a blessing?
Oh gosh, absolutely. Just taking a deep breath. Let it out very gently. And another deep breath. Hold it for a moment and realize there's a point where there's changeover. There's a little spot between inhaling, holding, and exhaling. And this is happening all the time for us. And it's in that space where we will find our blessings. And blessings which will bring you peace and love beyond belief, beyond anything that you've ever known before. And may all be blessed. May all sentient beings be blessed. May Gaia receive our blessed thoughts of healing, although I know very well she can heal herself. Yeah, and I just wish, you know, peace and loving kindness and gracious generosity for all of us to give to each other and to spread out through the world. That's my blessing.
Thank you. So it is.
So it is. And Todd, an extra special blessing for you, my darling. You're just the most incredible person, a beautiful man, and the mission that you have in life to bring people from all corners of the world together and to create a tribe or a spiritual family is it's monumental, and it's like we're all blessed by you.
Well,
thank you.
I'm only half of the equation. Otherwise, if it wasn't for the other half, I'd still be out there raising hell like all the other wild angels. But
it's Todd and Morgan. Well, we cannot separate the two.
No.
Together forever.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you.
Ruby, you're an amazing soul. And I thank you. And I'd love to get you back on and talk about programming DNA. And if we can get some, you know, maybe 10, 12 of your paintings together, maybe do a show on, you know, the story behind each one of them. Because I can already tell with the three we looked at that there's a lot of depth there's a lot that went into them. There's a lot of experience behind it. So I think we could all learn from that. And thank you for sharing this and coming on.
Yeah, well, thank you for exposing me to the light.
Exposure. What did you say? Exposure, then disclosure, right? Yeah. Yeah, you're a blessing to us all. I look forward to working with you again. And if there's anything we can do for you or anything, let me ask you now, do you do sessions online?
I do. I have done sessions on Messenger so far.
Yeah. So you're open to that? People are interested. Are you open to people contacting you in regards?
Okay. Definitely.
Okay. So I think this is speaks for itself. Everybody, you're watching the live or you're on a replay. This is the year of sovereignty and expansion, co-creation and collaboration. So we support our brothers and sisters that we resonate with in the universal equal energy exchange. And it's time we all walk the talk. So if and when Ruby's frequency and work and expressions resonate with you, please reach out to her and help yourself and help a sister too. It's all the same thing. So thank you, Ruby.
Thank you very much. Blessings to all of you. Love you all.
Love you too. We'll see you later. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Well, there we go. Computer wouldn't allow me to leave.
Yeah.